Abbadon, Nova Mortis, and Thunderlord, the newly formed trio of machine gun lords is finally assembled with the dawning patch. Why are these three all getting reviewed at the same time? Well, because they're the same weapon. The only thing different is their respective elemental damage, so let's get right into it. For Muzzles, we have Accurized Ballistics, more range and impact, increased recoil. Field Choke, more range and impact, increased recoil. And Linear Compensator, more predictable recoil, slight boost to range and impact, more recoil. Whichever muzzle you choose is largely up to your personal preference. The patterns are all pretty similar, and the stats don't really change enough to see any noticeable difference. Before I do get into the other perks, though, there is one very small thing to address. Abbadon and Nova Mortis did not receive the recoil fix that Thunderlord had a while back. Here's a comparison with Thunderlord using Linear Compensator, and then Nova Mortis using Linear Compensator. Abbadon has the same jumpy recoil. Every muzzle on Abbadon and Nova Mortis has this jumpy quality, while Thunderlord is much easier to control. This is a little puzzling since they all have the exact same stats in the database. Even the hidden stats like recoil direction are the exact same. So hopefully sometime in the future we can see the jumpy recoil corrected so that the only true difference between these weapons is their elemental damage type. Moving along the perks, we have Feeding Frenzy. Kills with this weapon increase reload speed for a short time. This is one of the perks that just works really well on pretty much any weapon. If you end up using the gun to mow through some ads, then you can reload quicker and have a full magazine to dump into a larger health enemy. Nothing bad about this perk at all. For the stat mod perks, we have Perfect Balance. This weapon has extremely low recoil. Field Scout, increased carried ammo capacity. And Flared Magwell, reload this weapon even faster. I pretty much only get Field Scout here. Back in year 1, this perk would also increase the magazine size, but sadly that got nerfed. Now Field Scout will only give you increased reserve ammo. These guns are just super fun to shoot, so I pretty much always go with more ammo. Pacing myself properly, I will generally be able to get through most of the current strikes while mostly using just my heavy. An ammo synth at the start, picking up a box later on, and then a synth at the final boss allows for a massive uptime on one of the hardest hitting weapons in the game. Perfect Balance does offer a nice stability boost, but these guns also have an extremely high aim assist stat, so in my opinion you don't really need stability to hit precision shots. Just look at these quick examples. Does it look like my sights are on the enemy's heads? No. So even though the gun jumps around a lot, you're going to land your shots reliably due to this aim assist. Flared Magwell isn't really needed either. Feeding Frenzy does a good job for buffing your reload speed, and Flared Magwell would only be useful if you were emptying the whole magazine into a boss. Even then, there are reload gauntlets available to help that out. If you're using this gun to damage bosses, I still suggest going for Field Scout, because more ammo to spend is always good. The final perks are Negative Rounds, Lightning Rounds, and Incendiary Rounds, depending on which weapon you use. The perk reads, this weapon fires faster and more accurately the longer the trigger is held. There are essentially 3 modes of fire on this gun, depending on how long you fire it. Normal speed, medium speed, and super fast. None of these modes actually change the damage of the rounds, so each time you tick up in rate of fire, you are drastically increasing your damage output. The weapon does get a little harder to control at the higher rates of fire. While the perks do say it fires more accurately, it doesn't make the recoil any easier to control. It just kind of makes your shots land, I think. Accuracy is one of those really nebulous things in the game that isn't explained very well to the average user, or experienced user either. The point is, I'd really only recommend ramping up to the fastest rate of fire on a boss, and one that doesn't really move around. You're going to be wasting a lot of ammo if you try to use it to cut through packs of mobs. Just stick to using the first fire mode. This perk was a thing of beauty in year 1 since Field Scout brought the magazine size up to something like 60. My memory's a little bit hazy on that. What I do remember is being in awe of how fast the gun was firing. Now, that period of time where the gun hits its max rate of fire is very short. It's a little bit underwhelming, but maybe that's just me speaking from the position of someone who used the gun when you could really take advantage of that faster rate of fire. Now, onto the PvP section. I'm going to put this bluntly. Your heavy choice in the Crucible really doesn't matter. Truth is the absolute best rocket launcher. Nemesis Star is arguably the best machine gun due to its time to kill being so low. The Machine Lords are also really good options since they will always kill in 4 shots, whether it be to the body or the head. They will also have pretty high ammo capacities compared to other machine guns. Those are the benefits. Without that being said, I personally feel like your heavy ammo choice just doesn't matter. Heavy ammo only comes up once per game unless you're playing Mayhem. Most of the time, you miss picking up the box, or you die right after picking it up. If you get ammo and live to use it, then sure, these machine guns are going to absolutely destroy people as they should. But so will pretty much every other machine gun except the max rate of fire ones. The too long didn't watch explanation is, use one of these guns if you want to. They are brutally efficient in their ammo usage, but heavy ammo is so insignificant in Crucible now that I'd just rather kill people as they pick up heavy than bother using it at all. Now PvE, that's where these guns shine. This particular archetype of machine gun is known for its incredibly high damage per shot. It will one-hit almost every tier 1 enemy type out there, and it will make very short work of higher health enemies. The final perk also has the added benefit of increasing the rate of fire. A typical magazine is also wonderfully designed for most damage phases and strikes. You can empty the entire magazine and then swap to a sniper for a few hits before you have to go find cover. Reload everything and then you'll be ready for the next damage phase. There's also a hidden perk on all of these guns that gives every kill a chance to explode your target. It's pretty much an RNG Firefly that doesn't require headshots. This makes dealing with larger packs of enemies really easy since the explosion will stagger them, which makes shooting them even simpler because they're not moving. Plus, then more things will explode, which is always good. The addition of Nova Mortis and Abbadon also allow you to take advantage of any burns that might be applied to the activity that you're doing, or going against any shielded enemies that you want to be sure to take out. Since the guns are all the same, aside from that recoil bug I mentioned earlier, you can always have an available heavy weapon for an encounter. Say I do the weekly where there's an arc burn active, well, I'll use Thunderlord. Then maybe I'll swap over to the daily where I know there's a bunch of things with void shields. I'll put on Nova Mortis then. I know it isn't as good as having a node that could just change elemental damage type, but still, it's great to have all of these options. Also, it has been a really long time since we had another void damage exotic, just putting that out there. I do have trouble deciding on which heavy machine gun to use now though. Between the Machine Gun Lord's Nemesis Star and Super Good Advice, all of them are fun to shoot, and offer up their own little flavors of destruction. If you're going for pure damage in PvE, I'm going to advise just going with one of the Lords or Nemesis Star. Going a step further, for a fight where you might want to use the gun to kill adds and damage a boss, I'd use one of the Lords, and for a purely boss damage fight, I'd go with Nemesis Star, since it has spray and play for faster reloads after dumping all of your ammo into a boss. One other thing I really enjoy about the guns are the extremely unobtrusive sights. They have a really simple red dot with a very bright and open reticle that gives you a good idea of where the recoil of the gun might end up going. There aren't really any downsides to these guns in PvE. They're kind of a powerhouse exotic that's good in almost every single situation. They aren't the best weapon by any means, but they aren't detrimental like some other exotics are. Looking at you, Dreg's Promise. And I suppose that about wraps it up for the review. It feels good to finally have these guns available in the game after having them teased for over a year now. Hopefully the recoil issue is fixed in the future as well. If you found this video helpful, a positive rating would be appreciated. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later.